I am very fortunate to be a member of a very small community of weavers here in Hawaii. I met this group through Foster Garden when they were demonstrating weaving, and I just knew I had to have a loom. So the president at the time helped me order it, and it came in 3 boxes from Quebec, where I'm from, because I wanted a French-Canadian loom, and put it together and started weaving. I like the rhythm of weaving. It's mathematical, it's methodical, it's problem solving, because there's a lot of threads that you need to work with. I like yardage, so many of these yardage are turned into noren. Noren are your Japanese, I call them my flowing doors. They're just gorgeous. And every home should have a few norens in their homes. It's not as strict as a painting or a frame, because textile, you get to touch it. A noren will flow with the wind in your house. It has a presence. And with the dyeing, I have to mention indigo, because that's where it all started, right? The type of weaving that I evolved into. So at the beginning, it was very complex weaving, trying different colors, patterns. I continue doing that by weaving once a year a 30-yard warp, so that I can make 30 dish towels or small textiles. So that's the craftsman in me. It needs to be well done. And then the art part of it, section of it, is when I introduce a sentiment or a feeling or something that happens in my life. Sometimes it's about the loss of a person, the loss of something in our environment, in a community, even in politics. So that's, to me, an art piece. It cannot be replicated. Craftsmen craft things you can replicate. No problem. But an art piece has its own story. In addition to that, I like dyeing the fabric or the yarns. I can dye it before. I even did during the weaving or afterwards. Colors give you a mood, so it's important that it's involved into my piece, especially if it's going to be a unique piece. As I grew up, I love painting, so I did that, and I sewed most of my clothes. So now I get to weave the fabric and do some garments. So this is the loom that used to belong to Ruth Adele Anderson, who was the lady that designed and installed with a team these big, large tapestries that you find at the state capitol in one of the legislature's rooms. It's huge. One is blue and one is red. So when she departed from her loom, I went to see it and I said, gotta have it. This loom has 2 beams, that's the beauty of it. So I can weave 2 different size threads with 2 different tension to create one cloth. So that's the purpose of that. And it's also very, very wide. It was built in 1969. Linen is one of my favorite yarn to work with. Linen, hemp, and other cottons, of course. So people had to prepare these before the weaver actually get the finished yarn to set up their looms. Then came the dyers to dye the products. So there was several people involved in clothing production. Not like today where everything is done by machines. My favorite size of the yarn is 16/2, which means 16 is the diameters of the thread, and 2 is 2 threads intertwined or spun together. So it's a finer thread, but I just love the touch and the drape of it. And depending if you beat hard or loose, it will produce the effect that you want. Like for noren, it's a little loose so that it can flow easily. So these noren have, my favorite one also is from Japan. It's linen and rami. So those are very old style of fibers. I mean, we used to make sail for sailboats with those. But now it's so spun beautifully. It's light, it's not rough, it dyes well. Like people say, oh, hemp, you can't really work with hemp. I said, no, yes, you can. You just have to wash it more before you make a garment with it. And so those are my favorite yarns. Somebody once called my art shibui, so it has to be artistically pleasant in a way, but sombre or subdued. You can see by the choice of my colors, nothing is very often very bright and brilliant. That's just my mood, when it comes to that, especially with life events. It's not always joyful, so you have to communicate that. And it's an individualized attitude, how you're gonna present your artwork. My first piece came from purchasing these expensive yarns. So I decided to do this jacket. It's a Coco Chanel jacket. As I was weaving, I needed 7 shuttles to weave with. And it's made of linen paper, merino, silk, cotton. And I purchased half of it, but I had, you end up having quite a collection of yarns in your studio. So I tried to use that. And it's mostly purplish, pink, gray. So those were my color. The theme of the exhibition this year is Aurora Borealis. I've never seen an Aurora Borealis, but I saw, you have pictures. So, and it's very colorful, but this is still subdued as a weave. And it was the inside, I dyed some silk charmeuse and shiburi it manually and introduced some greens and some indigo greens in there with mixing the indigo with the yellow. The title would be Mademoiselle Aurora's Jacket. I even got the button original from Coco Chanel that I purchased to put on. The second piece is last fall we went to the Alps. So I did an ikat piece. I dyed the warps and ikat and wove, and it's called Foggy Alps. It looks like in the mountains it's foggy, and it is like this in the Alps, with 2 little river flowing hidden, and that's the way it is in the Alps. You have your water melting. And my third piece is something that I haven't done too much. It's a hand stitch shibori. Then I was able to dye it. And it's called Free of Chaos because it's just straight lines. But the technique showed to depth of the indigo based on that stitching. And I really like that. So that I plan to do that. Another project with that. There's always a debate between craft and art. My definition is with craft, you get to reproduce it. With art, you can't. But you cannot start doing art or call yourself an artist if you're not a good craftsman. Sometimes you see the opposite happening during some exhibitions, so you have to be careful when you observe these pieces. It's important for the next generation to catch that. When you weave and you design and you do this fabric, you've touched pretty much every piece of the yarn that was placed on your loom. To set up your loom is 60% of your work, and then the weaving is about 40%. And so when you cut that fabric and you wear it, it's such a feeling. It's a very strong achievement. So I always think every high school should be teaching weaving so that they can learn how to garnish themselves in their own individuals, as their own individuals, special. I ran into an expression that stayed with me. It's called quiet luxury. So weaving is a quiet luxury, and wearing a garment that's been handwoven is a quiet luxury. It doesn't have to be commercial so much, and it's not loud. It took a long time to make, and it's very personal. So I like that expression with weaving, quiet luxury.